A man was woken late at night by a message. The property management notified all residents of Building 3 to go for nucleic acid testing, but the next second, the message was retracted. He stared at the screen for a few seconds and scrolled through the chat history. The last message was from the management the night before at 10 p.m., a notice about a water outage. This was the third time that week they had sent a midnight notice about testing. The first two times, he hadn't thought much of it, but tonight was different. Outside his window hung the sharp smell of disinfectant. At 7 a.m., he took his trash downstairs and deliberately walked past Building 3. Yellow tape cordoned off the entrance. Pretending to pass by, he glanced through the half-open door and saw several body bags stacked in the hallway. One of them wasn't fully zipped, revealing a pale arm with blood caked under the fingernails. He couldn't stop himself from vomiting on the spot. Back in his rental, hands shaking, he texted his landlord to say he would move out after the month. The landlord replied that breaking the lease would incur a penalty. Before he could explain, the landlord added a warning: don't go to the industrial zone in the west. There was an explosion there last night. He searched for information, skeptical, but found that all related pages had been taken down. He switched to foreign websites and found a video. In it, people were still moving even though parts of their bodies had been burned black. His head spun. The industrial zone in the west was originally a microbiology research institute built decades ago for wartime purposes. Though it had been repurposed as a chemical plant in recent years, soldiers still stood guard there around the clock. Clearly, it wasn't an ordinary facility. His unease outweighed everything else. He immediately messaged his supervisor to request time off and started packing. The supervisor replied quickly, asking with unusual wariness whether he had any symptoms. When the man mentioned having a fever, the supervisor approved a week's leave without hesitation, unlike his usual style. Maybe he had heard something too, but the man didn't have time to dwell on it. He packed as fast as he could, but his eyes caught a few large boxes of instant noodles still sitting on the shelf left over from his late-night snack stash. They served as a sudden, sobering reminder: if things went south, survival supplies would be worth everything. He called his mother. There was noise on her end, but she sounded even more urgent than he felt. She told him a new wave of flu had hit the city. His father had already taken time off work. She urged him to come home as soon as possible. Calmly, he said he was already booking a flight. But in truth, he didn't think his hometown would be safe either. He told them to head instead to the mountain lodge he had built a while back. His mother hesitated. That place had cost him $300,000, built with the hope of drawing tourists, but business had never taken off. Now, it seemed like the best option. He urged them to take as many supplies as they could and go there immediately. Then he grabbed his bag and headed for the subway. When he arrived, he saw that the route to the airport was already packed. Many people were carrying large luggage. He wasn't the only one who realized what was coming. He turned around, left the station, and paid a steep fare for a taxi. On the way to the airport, he transferred $50,000 to the caretaker of his lodge, instructing him to buy food, medicine, and other essentials immediately, then seal the gates and let no one in. He promised another $50,000 once the job was done. Watching his bank balance shrink, he felt relieved. Compared to money, he trusted resources he could hold in his hands. The airport was more chaotic than he had imagined. Long lines stretched out, but security staff were few. When a worker checked his information, he told the man he was lucky he had just made the last flight. The boarding gate was packed with people, but he had a business class ticket, so he boarded first. Once seated, he looked out the window. The sky at the end of the runway was gray, heavy with the look of an approaching storm. Then the man in the seat next to him convulsed sharply. He had wrapped himself up tightly, and the sudden jerking drew the flight attendant's attention. When she asked if he was okay, he seemed visibly